The chemistry lab fell silent, except for the sound of Tyler Morrison's sneakers squeaking against the polished floor. Maya Chen pressed her back against the cold metal cabinet, nowhere left to run. The afternoon sun streamed through the tall windows, casting long shadows across the abandoned classroom. Tyler held his phone up like a weapon, the screen glowing with a video that made Maya's stomach twist into knots. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. 50,000 followers are going to love this, Tyler said, his voice dripping with satisfaction. The golden afternoon light caught the cruel smile spreading across his face. Unless, of course, you want to make a deal. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she stared at the phone. On the screen, she could see herself from 3 days ago, slipping on the wet leaves near Creek Trail, her backpack spilling open, books and personal items scattered across the muddy ground. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what the camera had captured when her jacket rode up during the fall, revealing the sports bra she'd been wearing that had shifted awkwardly, creating a moment of embarrassment that Tyler had somehow turned into something far more humiliating through creative editing. "You filmed me without permission," Maya whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of the lab's ventilation system. Tyler stepped closer, his basketball shoes making that awful squeaking sound again. "Public trail, public property. Besides, you should be thanking me. This is going to make you famous." He gestured around the empty classroom with his free hand. Cedar Falls High's newest viral sensation. The chemical smell of the lab mixing with Tyler's overwhelming cologne made Maya feel nauseous. She thought about her father's martial arts studio back in Portland, the smell of leather and determination that used to fill her lungs during training. She thought about the 3 championship belts collecting dust in her bedroom closet, hidden away like shameful secrets. Most of all, she thought about the promise she'd made to her mother about staying out of trouble at this new school. But looking at Tyler's smug expression, feeling the cold metal of the cabinet against her spine, Maya realized some promises were harder to keep than others. What Tyler Morrison didn't know, what nobody at Riverside High knew, was that the quiet new girl from Portland had spent the last 5 years learning something far more dangerous than chemistry equations, something that could change everything in the next 60 seconds. 3 weeks earlier, Maya Chen had walked through the front doors of Riverside High School carrying nothing but nervous energy and a worn copy of her class schedule. The September morning air in Cedar Falls still held traces of summer warmth, and maple leaves were just beginning to hint at the coming autumn colors. She'd spent the entire car ride from their new apartment rehearsing conversations in her head, practicing the smile she'd give when introducing herself to new classmates. Her mother, Dr. Lisa Chen, had dropped her off with the usual mixture of encouragement and worry that seemed to define their relationship since the move. "Remember what we talked about, sweetheart?" her mother had said, adjusting Maya's backpack straps one final time. Fresh start means fresh choices. Maya understood the subtext perfectly. No more fighting. No more tournaments. No more late nights at the Dragon's Den watching her father drill combinations with advanced students. She was supposed to be a normal teenager now, focused on academics and college preparation, not the precise art of 8-limb combat that had defined her life for the past 5 years. The hallways of Riverside High buzzed with the familiar chaos of teenage social dynamics. Groups clustered around lockers, sharing summer stories and eyeing each other's new clothes. Maya navigated through the crowd carefully, noting the unspoken hierarchies that seemed to govern every high school she'd ever observed. The athletes wore their status in letter jackets and confident postures. The academic achievers carried themselves with quiet intensity. The artists and musicians seemed to exist in their own creative bubble, largely unbothered by the social mathematics happening around them. Maya's first period was advanced chemistry with Mrs. Patterson, a stern woman in her 50s who had a reputation for challenging even the most dedicated students. The classroom smelled like disinfectant and old textbooks, with periodic table posters covering every available wall space. Maya chose a seat in the 3rd row, close enough to show engagement, but far enough back to avoid unwanted attention. That strategy worked perfectly until Tyler Morrison walked in. Even without knowing his name or reputation, Maya could sense his presence the moment he entered the room. Tyler moved with the casual confidence of someone who'd never questioned his place in the world. His sandy brown hair was perfectly styled, his clothes expensive but worn with calculated carelessness. He commanded attention without demanding it, the kind of natural charisma that made other students automatically defer to his opinions and laugh at his jokes. Tyler scanned the classroom with practiced efficiency before his eyes settled on Maya. She felt his gaze like a spotlight, examining her unfamiliar face with obvious curiosity. When he smiled and headed toward the empty seat beside her, Maya experienced a moment of cautious optimism. Maybe this fresh start would include making friends with someone who seemed genuinely popular and confident. "New girl," Tyler said, settling into the chair with fluid grace. His voice carried just enough warmth to seem friendly without being overly eager. "Tyler Morrison, welcome to the chemical wasteland that is Patterson's torture chamber." Maya managed a nervous laugh. "Maya Chen, and thanks, I think. Trust me, you'll understand by October." Tyler pulled out his phone, checking messages with the casual disregard for classroom rules that seemed to be his trademark. "Where'd you transfer from?" "Portland. My mom got a position at the medical center here." "Dr. Mom, huh?" "That explains the advanced chemistry placement." Tyler's smile widened, revealing perfectly straight teeth that probably cost his parents thousands in orthodontic work. Most transfer students end up in the regular sections. Before Maya could respond, Mrs. Patterson called the class to attention with a sharp clap that echoed off the lab tables. The lesson began with a review of molecular bonding principles, but Maya found herself distracted by Tyler's presence beside her. He took notes with expensive pens, answered questions with confident accuracy, and generally seemed to embody everything she'd hoped to become at this new school. Popular, successful, and completely at ease with his place in the social ecosystem. During the lab portion of class, Tyler partnered with Maya for a titration experiment that required careful measurement and precise timing. He proved to be an excellent lab partner, handling the equipment with steady hands while keeping up a steady stream of conversation about teachers, classes, and the various social dynamics she should be aware of as a newcomer. "The key to surviving Riverside," Tyler explained while adjusting the burette clamp, "is understanding the unwritten rules. Like, never sit at the senior table during lunch unless you're invited. Never try to park in the spots closest to the main entrance unless you've earned them. And definitely never get on the wrong side of the people who matter." Maya nodded along, grateful for the insider knowledge while carefully documenting their experimental results. "Who are the people who matter?" Tyler's laugh held a note of self-awareness that made it charming rather than arrogant. "Well, modesty aside, you're looking at one of them. Student body president, varsity basketball, honor roll, and about 50,000 social media followers who think I'm worth watching." The numbers were impressive, but something in Tyler's tone made Maya slightly uncomfortable. There was an edge beneath the casual bragging, a hint that his status came with expectations and responsibilities that might not always align with kindness. Their experiment concluded successfully, earning approving nods from Mrs. Patterson as she reviewed their data. Tyler walked Maya to her next class, pointing out important landmarks and introducing her to other students with the easy authority of someone accustomed to social leadership. By the time the lunch bell rang, Maya felt like she might actually have a chance at the normal high school experience her mother wanted for her. That optimism lasted exactly until she entered the cafeteria and saw Tyler Morrison in his natural habitat, surrounded by admirers and basking in the kind of attention that revealed the true scope of his influence at Riverside High School. The cafeteria at Riverside High resembled a carefully orchestrated social theater, with each table representing a different tier of the high school hierarchy. Maya stood in the entrance holding her lunch tray, overwhelmed by the sudden noise and movement after the relative quiet of her morning classes. The smell of pizza grease and industrial cleaning products created an oddly nostalgic atmosphere that reminded her of every school cafeteria she'd ever experienced. Tyler's table occupied prime real estate near the large windows overlooking the school's courtyard. The afternoon sunlight streaming through the glass seemed to spotlight him as he gestured animatedly while telling some story that had his audience laughing with perfectly timed enthusiasm. Maya recognized some faces from her morning classes, but they all seemed different here, more polished and performance-ready, as if being near Tyler required them to present their best selves. Ashley Brooks sat directly to Tyler's right, her blonde hair catching the light as she leaned in to whisper something that made him smile with genuine warmth. Maya had heard Ashley's name mentioned in several conversations throughout the morning, usually accompanied by descriptions like gorgeous, popular, and, quote, Tyler's girlfriend since sophomore year. She looked exactly like someone who would date the student body president, with the kind of effortless beauty that suggested excellent genetics and expensive skincare routines. Marcus Johnson occupied the seat across from Tyler, his laptop open, and his attention divided between the conversation and whatever was on his screen. Maya had learned during first period that Marcus was something of a legend among the tech-savvy students, capable of editing videos that looked professional enough for television. His dark skin contrasted sharply with the bright green hoodie he wore, and his fingers moved across the keyboard with the fluid precision of someone completely comfortable with digital creation. Emma Rodriguez approached Maya's position near the entrance, carrying her own lunch tray and wearing an expression of friendly curiosity. Emma had introduced herself during their shared world history class, mentioning that she was a junior like Maya, and offering to help navigate the social complexities of a new school. Her curly black hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and she wore the kind of vintage band t-shirt that suggested interesting musical tastes. "First day cafeteria anxiety?" Emma asked, balancing her tray while gesturing toward the crowded room. "It's totally normal. This place can feel like a gladiator arena until you figure out where you belong." Maya appreciated the rescue from her paralyzed hovering. "It's definitely more intense than I expected." Back in Portland, lunch was just lunch. Cedar Falls takes its social dynamics very seriously, Emma explained, guiding Maya toward a table near the back corner that offered good views of the entire cafeteria without being too exposed. Tyler's table is basically the United Nations of popularity. If he likes you, doors open. If he doesn't, well, let's just say it's better to stay off his radar entirely. They settled at the table, and Maya unwrapped the sandwich she'd packed that morning. The Bostocrats, preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Bread was slightly soggy from the peanut butter, but it reminded her of the lunches her father used to make when she was younger, before tournament schedules and training regimens took over their family routine. He seemed nice enough in chemistry class, helpful actually. Emma's expression shifted slightly, a shadow of concern crossing her features. Tyler can be incredibly charming when he wants to be. The problem is figuring out what he wants from you. She glanced around the cafeteria before leaning closer, lowering her voice. "Look, I don't want to scare you on your first day, but Tyler Morrison isn't just popular, he's powerful. His dad owns half the commercial real estate in Cedar Falls, including the strip mall where most of our parents shop. His social media following isn't just for fun, it's basically a business at this point." Maya followed Emma's gaze back to Tyler's table, where he was now filming himself and his friends with his phone, probably creating content for one of his social media accounts. The camera seemed to transform him, adding an extra layer of performance to his already confident personality. Even from across the cafeteria, Maya could see how naturally he commanded attention, drawing focus like a magnet. "What kind of business?" Maya asked, though she wasn't entirely sure she wanted to know the answer. "Sponsored posts, brand partnerships, that sort of thing. But the real power comes from what he can do to people who cross him." Emma picked at her salad, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "Last year, there was this girl named Jennifer Walsh, no relation to our principal, who called Tyler out on social media for some comment he made about her boyfriend. Within a week, Tyler had created this whole narrative about her being fake and attention-seeking. He never said anything directly, just posted strategic content that made her look bad. By the end of the month, she was eating lunch alone and transferred schools before Christmas. The sandwich suddenly tasted like cardboard in Maya's mouth. That's horrible. The worst part is that most people don't even realize what's happening. Tyler's too smart to be obviously cruel. He just creates situations where people destroy themselves, then he swoops in as the reasonable voice trying to help everyone get along." Emma's voice carried the weight of someone who'd witnessed this pattern multiple times. It's like he has this instinct for finding people's weaknesses and pressure points. Maya thought about the conversation she'd had with Tyler during chemistry lab, how he'd seemed genuinely interested in helping her navigate the school's social landscape. Now she wondered if that helpfulness came with hidden costs or expectations she hadn't understood at the time. "Has he ever done anything to you?" "I'm too boring to be worth the effort," Emma said with a self-deprecating smile that didn't quite hide the relief in her voice. "I keep my head down, maintain decent grades, and avoid anything that might put me on his radar." It's not the most exciting way to survive high school, but it's effective. From across the cafeteria, Tyler's laughter rang out above the general noise, drawing glances from other tables. Maya watched as he seamlessly transitioned from filming to engaging with a group of underclassmen who'd approached his table, probably seeking advice or approval. He gave them just enough attention to make them feel special without actually committing to any real interaction. It was masterfully done, the kind of social manipulation that looked like genuine kindness from a distance. The thing about Tyler, Emma continued, is that he genuinely believes he's helping people. In his mind, he's teaching valuable lessons about social hierarchy and personal responsibility. He thinks he's preparing people for the real world by showing them how power actually works. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from her mother asking about her first day. She quickly typed back a reassuring message about meeting nice people and enjoying her classes, which wasn't entirely false even if it wasn't completely true either. Her mother had enough stress with her new position at the medical center without worrying about teenage social dynamics. What about the teachers? Don't they see what's happening? Emma shrugged, stabbing a cherry tomato with unnecessary force. Tyler's too smart to get caught doing anything obviously wrong. Plus, his academic performance is genuinely impressive. He's involved in all the right extracurricular activities, and his father donates serious money to the school district. Most teachers see him as a model student who occasionally has personality conflicts with classmates. The bell signaling the end of lunch period cut through their conversation, and students began clearing their tables with practiced efficiency. Maya gathered her trash while watching Tyler's table disperse, noting how other students seemed to orbit around him even as they moved toward different destinations. Ashley touched his arm briefly before heading toward what Maya assumed was her next class, while Marcus packed up his laptop with the careful attention of someone whose equipment was both expensive and essential. Tyler himself moved with unhurried confidence, stopping to exchange greetings with various students as he made his way across the cafeteria. Maya found herself impressed, despite Emma's warnings, watching him navigate the complex social landscape with the ease of someone who'd never questioned his place within it. When his path brought him near their table, he paused to offer Maya a friendly wave. "How was your first Riverside lunch experience?" he asked, his smile seeming genuine in the afternoon light filtering through the windows. "Educational," Maya replied, earning a quick glance from Emma that suggested diplomatic answers were probably wise. "Good to hear. See you in chemistry tomorrow." Tyler's attention shifted briefly to Emma, acknowledging her presence with a polite nod that somehow managed to be both inclusive and dismissive. Then he was moving again, leaving behind only the faint scent of expensive cologne and the lingering sense that their interaction had been carefully calculated despite its casual appearance. Emma waited until Tyler was completely out of earshot before speaking again. "You handled that well. He was testing you." Seeing how you'd respond to his attention in front of someone who knows his reputation, Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cafeteria's air conditioning. "Testing me for what?" Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cafeteria's air conditioning. "Testing me for what?" "To see if you're worth the effort of bringing into his circle, or if you're someone who might cause problems down the road." Emma gathered her backpack and stood, preparing to navigate the crowded hallways to their next classes. "The good news is that you seem to pass. The bad news is that Tyler Morrison's approval always comes with a price, even when you don't realize you're paying it." The next few days passed in a blur of new routines and careful social navigation. Maya found herself settling into the rhythm of Riverside High more easily than she'd expected, helped by Emma's guidance and her own natural ability to observe and adapt. Her teachers seemed pleased with her academic preparation, and she'd managed to avoid any major social missteps that might draw unwanted attention. Tyler continued to be friendly during chemistry class, offering study tips and sharing insider knowledge about Mrs. Patterson's testing preferences. Their lab partnership had evolved into something resembling actual friendship, with Tyler asking genuine questions about her life in Portland and sharing stories about growing up in Cedar Falls. Maya began to wonder if Emma's warnings had been overly cautious, colored by small-town gossip and teenage drama rather than actual evidence. That perspective changed dramatically on Thursday afternoon. Maya was walking to her locker after her last class when she heard raised voices coming from around the corner near the main office. The hallways were mostly empty, with most students already heading home or to after-school activities, so the sound of conflict carried clearly through the polished corridors. Maya's instincts, honed by years of martial arts training, told her to avoid whatever confrontation was taking place, but curiosity and concern for a fellow student overrode her better judgment. She moved quietly toward the corner, staying close to the wall of lockers to avoid being seen. What she discovered made her stomach clench with recognition and dread. Tyler Morrison stood with his back to Maya, his phone held steady as he filmed something just out of her line of sight. Marcus Johnson was beside him, holding what appeared to be professional lighting equipment that cast harsh shadows against the institutional green walls. Both boys were dressed casually, but their body language suggested this was serious business rather than casual social media content. "Come on, Danny." Tyler's voice carried a tone Maya had never heard from him before, simultaneously encouraging and threatening. "You said you wanted to be part of the group. This is how it works. Everyone pays their dues." Maya shifted her position slightly, trying to get a better view without exposing herself. What she saw made her hands clench into involuntary fists. Danny Richardson, a sophomore she recognized from the cafeteria, stood pressed against the wall of lockers with tears streaming down his face. His usually neat appearance was disheveled, his shirt untucked, and his hair messed up as if he'd been struggling. In his hands he held what appeared to be women's undergarments, and Maya realized with growing horror that Tyler was forcing him to pose with them while being filmed. "I don't want to do this anymore," Danny whispered, his voice cracking with adolescent emotion and genuine fear. "Please, Tyler. I'll do something else. Anything else." "We talked about this," Tyler replied, his tone remaining patient, but with an underlying edge that suggested his patience had limits. "You wanted to sit with us at lunch. You wanted to be invited to Ashley's party this weekend. You wanted people to stop treating you like you're invisible. This is the price of admission." Marcus adjusted the lighting, casting Danny's face in stark relief that would make his tears and humiliation clearly visible to anyone who watched the resulting video. "Dude, just get through this and we can all go home. The longer you drag it out, the worse it's going to be." Maya felt her body temperature rise as she watched Danny's shoulders shake with barely contained sobs. She thought about her father's teachings about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves, about the responsibility that came with having skills others lacked. She thought about her promise to her mother about staying out of trouble. Most of all, she thought about every moment in her life when someone with power had chosen to use it to help rather than harm. "I can't," Danny said, his voice barely audible. "My mom, if she saw this, she'd die. She's already worried about me fitting in here." Tyler's patience finally cracked, and Maya saw a glimpse of something cold and calculating beneath his usual charming exterior. "Your mom's not going to see anything if you just do what I'm asking. But if you keep being difficult, well, sometimes things end up getting posted accidentally. Technology is so unpredictable these days." The threat was clear, and Maya watched Danny's face crumple as he realized the impossible position he'd been maneuvered into. She recognized the tactical brilliance of Tyler's approach, creating a situation where the victim felt responsible for their own humiliation while giving the aggressor plausible deniability about their intentions. Maya's phone buzzed softly with a text message, and she quickly silenced it while checking to make sure the sound hadn't been heard. The message was from her father, asking about her day and reminding her about their planned training session that evening. The irony wasn't lost on her that while she was watching someone being systematically destroyed, her father was preparing to teach her techniques that could stop such destruction instantly. "Fine," Danny whispered, and Maya watched him assume the humiliating pose Tyler had demanded. The camera began recording, capturing every detail of his degradation with high-definition clarity. Maya closed her eyes, feeling sick to her stomach. When she opened them again, Tyler was reviewing the footage on his phone while Marcus packed up the lighting equipment with practiced efficiency. Danny stood against the lockers looking hollow and defeated, as if something essential had been carved out of his spirit. "Perfect," Tyler said, his cheerful tone making the situation even more disturbing. "See, that wasn't so hard. Marcus will edit this tonight, and you'll have your initiation video just like everyone else." "What do you mean, just like everyone else?" Danny's voice held a note of dawning horror. Marcus laughed, a sound completely devoid of warmth. "You think you're special? Everyone who wants to run with us has to earn their place. Ashley, all the popular girls, half the basketball team. Everyone's got their video. Tyler pocketed his phone and clapped Danny on the shoulder with false camaraderie. Welcome to the inner circle, buddy. Trust me, having this hanging over your head keeps everyone honest. It's like insurance for friendship. Maya understood the system now with crystalline clarity. Tyler wasn't just collecting embarrassing videos for entertainment. He was building a network of compromised individuals who could never turn against him without destroying themselves. It was blackmail disguised as initiation, control masquerading as inclusion. The three boys began walking in Maya's direction, and she quickly retreated around the corner, pressing herself against the wall and holding her breath as they passed. She heard Tyler discussing plans for the weekend party, his voice returning to its usual warm and engaging tone as if nothing disturbing had just occurred. After they were gone, Maya remained hidden for several more minutes, processing what she'd witnessed. The hallway felt contaminated somehow, as if the cruelty that had taken place there had left invisible stains on the polished floors and painted walls. She thought about Danny Richardson, who would probably smile and laugh at Tyler's table tomorrow while carrying the secret knowledge that his social acceptance was built on a foundation of recorded humiliation. Maya's phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Emma, asking if she wanted to study together for their upcoming world history exam. The normalcy of the request felt surreal after what she'd just witnessed, but Maya forced herself to type back a positive response. She needed to maintain her routine, needed to process this information carefully before deciding how to respond. Walking to her locker, Maya passed the spot where Danny had been humiliated just minutes earlier. The hallway looked exactly the same as always, giving no indication of the violence that had occurred there. She realized this was probably how Tyler operated most of the time, leaving no visible evidence of his actions while creating maximum psychological impact on his victims. Her father's teachings echoed in her mind as she gathered her books for the evening. In Thai boxing, as in life, the most dangerous opponents were those who could hurt you while appearing to help you. Tyler Morrison had perfected that technique, wielding cruelty like a surgical instrument while maintaining his reputation as a leader and role model. Maya thought about the championship belts in her closet, about years of training designed to teach her when and how to fight. She thought about her promise to her mother, about staying out of trouble. Most importantly, she thought about Danny Richardson's tears and the systematic way Tyler was building his empire of compromised souls. Walking toward the parking lot where her mother would pick her up, Maya made a decision that would change everything at Riverside High School. She just didn't realize how quickly Tyler Morrison would force her hand. The decision crystallized over the weekend as Maya sat in her father's martial arts studio, watching him guide a group of adult students through advanced pad work. The Dragon's Den occupied an authentic, no-nonsense atmosphere. The rhythmic sound of gloves hitting pads created a meditative backdrop that usually helped Maya think clearly. But today, her mind kept returning to Danny Richardson's face. David Chen moved between his students with the fluid grace of someone who'd spent decades perfecting his craft. At 45, he still possessed the lean muscle and quick reflexes that had made him a formidable competitor in his youth, though now he channeled that energy into teaching rather than competing. His black hair was streaked with premature silver, and his dark eyes held the quiet intensity of someone who'd learned to read violence in all its forms. "Your combinations are getting sloppy," he told Maya during their private session after the adult class ended. "Your mind is somewhere else today." Maya reset her stance, feeling the familiar comfort of the gym's rubber mats beneath her feet. The space smelled like leather and honest sweat, a sharp contrast to the artificial atmosphere of Riverside High with its gleaming hallways and carefully maintained facades. Here, conflict was honest and direct, governed by rules that everyone understood and respected. "School stuff," she said, throwing a lazy jab that her father easily deflected. "School stuff doesn't usually make you telegraph your punches like a beginner." David adjusted her guard position with gentle but firm hands. "Talk to me." Maya hesitated, knowing that her father's protective instincts would kick in if he understood what was really happening at her new school. Dr. Lisa Chen had been very clear about wanting a fresh start for their family, away from the intensity and potential dangers of competitive martial arts. But looking at her father's concerned expression, Maya realized she needed advice from someone who understood both fighting and the complexities of human nature. "There's this guy at school," she began, then immediately regretted the phrasing when she saw her father's eyebrows rise slightly. Not like that. He's popular, student body president, seems perfect on the surface. But I saw him doing something terrible to another student. David lowered his focus mitts, giving Maya his complete attention. What kind of terrible? Maya described what she'd witnessed in the hallway, watching her father's expression grow increasingly grim as she explained Tyler's blackmail system and the way he'd systematically humiliated Danny Richardson. When she finished, David was quiet for a long moment, processing the information with the analytical mind that had made him an effective teacher as well as fighter. "This boy, Tyler, he's building an army," David said finally, "creating soldiers who can never desert because he holds their shame as collateral. What should I do? If I report it, Tyler will just deny everything, and his victims won't back me up because they're too afraid of their videos being released." David began unwrapping his hands with slow, deliberate movements. "In Thailand, when I was learning from the old masters, they taught us that martial arts isn't about winning fights. It's about preventing them by making the cost of aggression too high for rational people to accept." Maya understood the philosophy, but she wasn't sure how it applied to her current situation. "Tyler isn't rational. He enjoys hurting people. Then he's not really powerful, just dangerous. And dangerous people eventually destroy themselves if you're patient enough to let them." David hung up his focus mitts and turned to face his daughter directly. "But you're not going to be patient, are you?" The question caught Maya off guard with its accuracy. She'd inherited her father's protective instincts along with his fighting skills, and the idea of standing by while Tyler continued to victimize other students felt like betrayal of everything she'd been taught about using strength responsibly. "I can't just watch him destroy people," Maya admitted. "Then don't watch, but be smart about how you act." David's voice carried the weight of hard-earned experience. "Men like this, Tyler, they're always preparing for the fight they expect. The key is giving them a different fight entirely." Monday morning brought unseasonably cold weather to Cedar Falls, with gray clouds threatening rain and a sharp wind that made students hurry between buildings with hunched shoulders and quickened steps. Maya arrived at school early, hoping to observe Tyler's routine and understand his patterns of behavior. She'd spent the weekend researching online bullying tactics and had begun to see the sophisticated nature of his operation. Tyler's social media presence was carefully curated to present him as the ideal teenager: academically successful, athletically talented, socially conscious, and genuinely caring about his fellow students. His posts featured him volunteering at community events, celebrating teammates' achievements, and sharing inspirational quotes about leadership and personal growth. To anyone unfamiliar with his true nature, Tyler Morrison appeared to be exactly the kind of young man parents hoped their children would emulate. The disconnect between his online persona and his actual behavior created a kind of psychological camouflage that made him nearly untouchable. Even if someone tried to expose his blackmail system, Tyler could point to hundreds of posts and thousands of followers as evidence of his good character. He'd weaponized his reputation as effectively as he'd weaponized his victims' shame. Maya positioned herself near the main entrance, watching students arrive and noting how they interacted with Tyler as he held court near his locker. Danny Richardson appeared around 8:15, walking with the careful posture of someone trying to appear normal while carrying an enormous secret. When he approached Tyler's group, Maya saw him receive a casual fist bump and inclusion in the morning's conversation. The perfect picture of accepted friendship that masked the ugly reality underneath. Emma Rodriguez found Maya during first period study hall, sliding into the seat beside her with an expression of concern that immediately put Maya on alert. "We need to talk," Emma whispered, glancing around to make sure they weren't being overheard. "Something's happened." They moved to a corner table away from other students, and Emma pulled out her phone with shaking hands. "Tyler posted something on his private story last night. The one that only his inner circle can see." Maya felt her stomach drop as Emma showed her the screen. The video was professionally edited, with smooth transitions and compelling background music that made it look like promotional material for some kind of exclusive club. But the content was devastating, a compilation of humiliating moments from various students, all filmed without their knowledge or consent. Danny Richardson appeared multiple times, including footage from the hallway incident Maya had witnessed. But he wasn't alone. Maya recognized at least 6 other students from around school, all captured in moments of vulnerability or embarrassment that had been edited to maximize their humiliation. The video ended with text that read, "Everyone pays their dues," followed by Tyler's signature smile and a reminder to his followers about an upcoming party. "How did you see this?" Maya asked, though she was afraid she already knew the answer. Emma's face flushed with shame and anger. "Because I'm one of them. I lied when I said Tyler never bothered with me. Last year he caught me in the bathroom during a panic attack and filmed me hyperventilating and crying. He said he was just checking on me, being a good friend, but then he showed me the video later and explained how it would look if people saw it without context." The revelation hit Maya like a physical blow. Emma, who'd seemed like her one genuine friend at Riverside High, was also trapped in Tyler's web of compromised souls. The isolation was part of his strategy, ensuring that his victims felt alone and ashamed rather than recognizing their shared experience. "Why are you showing me this?" Maya asked. "Because Tyler's been asking questions about you, where you came from, what your family is like, whether you have any secrets he should know about." Emma's voice dropped even lower. "He's planning something, Maya, and based on what I've seen him do to other people, you need to be ready." Maya thought about her father's advice about giving Tyler a different fight than the one he expected. She thought about the championship belts hidden in her closet and the years of training that had taught her to remain calm under pressure. Most importantly, she thought about Danny Richardson's tears and Emma's panic breathing in a school bathroom. Moments of human vulnerability turned into weapons by someone who understood power but not responsibility. "What kind of questions?" Maya asked. "He wanted to know if you'd mentioned anything about your old school, any problems you might have had there. He asked Marcus to do some social media research on your family." Emma gripped her phone tighter. "Tyler doesn't usually work this hard to find dirt on someone unless he's planning something big." Maya realized that her careful observation of Tyler had been mutual. While she'd been studying his patterns and tactics, he'd been investigating her background and looking for leverage points. The thought of him digging into her family's privacy, possibly discovering her martial arts background and using it against her somehow, made her hands clench into involuntary fists. "There's something else," Emma continued. "Ashley Brooks has been acting weird around Tyler lately. I think she's getting tired of what he does to people, but she's too scared to say anything because he has videos of her too." The information painted a picture of Tyler's empire as more fragile than it appeared on the surface. If some of his closest allies were beginning to question his methods, it suggested that his control depended more on fear than genuine loyalty. Maya began to see possibilities for action that didn't require direct confrontation, at least not yet. "Emma, I need you to do something for me," Maya said. "Keep track of everything Tyler does this week. Every conversation, every video he makes, every person he talks to. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, though her expression suggested she understood the potential dangers of what Maya was asking. "What are you planning?" Maya thought about her father's teachings about timing and strategy, about waiting for the right moment to act when your opponent was most vulnerable. She thought about Tyler's need for control and his dependence on social media validation. Most importantly, she thought about all the students walking through Riverside High's hallways carrying secrets that someone else used to control them. "I'm planning to give Tyler Morrison exactly what he deserves," Maya said quietly. "But first, I need to understand exactly how far he's willing to go." The answer to that question would come sooner than Maya expected, in a way that would force her to choose between the promise she'd made to her mother and the principles her father had taught her about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Wednesday afternoon changed everything. Maya was walking back from her AP biology class when she noticed an unusual amount of activity near the Creek Trail entrance behind the school. Students were clustered in small groups, their voices carrying an undercurrent of excitement mixed with concern that made Maya's instincts flare with warning signals. She approached Emma Rodriguez, who stood apart from the main groups with her phone clutched tightly in her hands. Emma's face was pale, and she kept glancing toward the trail entrance with obvious anxiety. "What's happening?" Maya asked, though the knot forming in her stomach suggested she might not want to know the answer. Emma looked around nervously before responding in a whisper. "Tyler's filming something on the trail, something big. Marcus posted on his story about getting exclusive footage for a special project." Maya felt the familiar surge of adrenaline that preceded action. the same physiological response she'd experienced countless times before competitions. But this wasn't a sanctioned match with rules and referees. This was Tyler Morrison operating without constraints, and Maya suspected she was about to discover just how far he was willing to go. "Who's with him?" Maya asked. "Ashley, Marcus, and at least 3 other guys from the basketball team." Emma's voice shook slightly. "And they've got someone with them. Someone who didn't look like they wanted to be there." Maya didn't need to ask who the unwilling participant might be. She'd spent enough time observing Tyler's patterns to understand that he escalated his activities when he felt secure in his power. Whatever was happening on Creek Trail represented a new level of cruelty, and Maya realized that her window for strategic planning had just closed. The trail entrance was partially hidden by a cluster of oak trees that provided natural cover for activities the administration might not approve of. Maya moved toward the trees with the silent footwork her father had drilled into her during countless training sessions, staying low and using the afternoon shadows to mask her approach. The sound reached her first, Tyler's voice carrying the tone of someone conducting business, professional and detached. As Maya got closer, she could make out words that made her blood run cold. "This is going to be perfect for the compilation video," Tyler was saying. "Really show people what happens when someone tries to embarrass me in front of the whole school." Maya positioned herself behind a large oak tree and carefully peered around the trunk. What she saw made her hands clench into fists that her father would have recognized as a prelude to violence. Jessica Martinez, a freshman Maya had seen in the hallways but never spoken to, stood in a small clearing surrounded by Tyler and his crew. Jessica was maybe 14 years old, with the kind of innocent face that made her look even younger. She was holding Tyler's phone, and Maya could see that it was recording something that was making Jessica cry. "I don't want to say it," Jessica whispered, her voice barely audible through her tears. Tyler stepped closer to her, and Maya could see his expression clearly for the first time. Gone was any pretense of charm or reasonableness. His face showed the cold calculation of someone who enjoyed the power he held over another human being. "You should have thought about that before you decided to tell people I cheated on Ashley," Tyler said. "You really thought you could spread rumors about me and there wouldn't be consequences?" Ashley Brooks stood to Tyler's left, and Maya was shocked to see that she looked almost as uncomfortable as Jessica. Ashley kept glancing around the clearing as if she wanted to leave but didn't dare. Marcus operated his professional camera equipment with the mechanical efficiency of someone who'd done this many times before. "I never said you cheated," Jessica protested. "I just told Emma that I saw you talking to that girl from Westfield High." "And what did that conversation turn into by the time it got back to me?" Tyler's voice remained calm, but Maya could see the tension in his posture. "By lunchtime, half the school was talking about how I was sneaking around behind Ashley's back." Maya realized she was witnessing Tyler's version of damage control. Jessica had apparently been identified as the source of information that threatened his carefully maintained image, and now she was paying the price for speaking truth that Tyler found inconvenient. "Tyler, maybe we should just forget about this," Ashley said, her voice lacking its usual confidence. "She's just a freshman. She didn't mean anything by it." Tyler turned to look at Ashley with an expression that made Maya's martial arts training kick into high alert. She recognized the look of someone whose control was being questioned, and she knew from experience that such moments often led to explosive violence. "Ashley, sweetheart, remember our conversation about loyalty?" Tyler's tone was gentle, but the threat underneath was unmistakable. "Remember what happens to people who don't support their friends when it matters?" Ashley's face went white, and she stepped back as if Tyler had physically struck her. Maya understood that she was witnessing more than just Jessica's humiliation. She was seeing Tyler reassert dominance over his entire social network by making an example of someone who couldn't fight back. "Now, Jessica," Tyler continued, turning his attention back to the crying freshman, "you're going to read exactly what's on that screen, every word, and you're going to say it like you mean it." Maya shifted her position to get a better view of Tyler's phone screen. What she saw made her decision for her. The script Tyler had prepared for Jessica was a detailed confession to spreading false rumors about him, followed by an apology that included admitting she was jealous of his relationship with Ashley and that she'd made up stories to try to cause problems. But the final section was the most damaging. Jessica was supposed to admit to having a crush on Tyler and making up the cheating story because she was angry that he didn't return her feelings. It was character assassination disguised as confession, designed to destroy Jessica's reputation while simultaneously reinforcing Tyler's image as someone who was unfairly targeted by jealous admirers. Maya realized that this video would follow Jessica through her entire high school career, defining how her classmates saw her and limiting her ability to form genuine relationships. "I can't say this," Jessica whispered. "It's not true. None of it's true." "Truth is relative," Tyler replied. "What matters is what people believe. And after they see this video, they'll believe that you're exactly the kind of person who makes up stories about people who are better than you." Marcus adjusted his camera angle, and Maya saw him zoom in on Jessica's tear-streaked face. The technical quality of their operation was impressive and deeply disturbing. This wasn't amateur bullying conducted in the heat of emotion. This was systematic psychological warfare carried out with professional-grade equipment and careful planning. "Tyler, I really think we should stop." Ashley tried again, but her voice was weak and uncertain. "Ashley, go wait by the trail entrance," Tyler commanded without looking at her. "Make sure no one interrupts us." Ashley hesitated for a moment, and Maya saw her look directly at Jessica with what appeared to be genuine sympathy. But instead of standing up to Tyler, Ashley lowered her eyes and walked toward Maya's position. Maya pressed herself against the oak tree, holding her breath as Ashley passed within feet of her hiding spot. With Ashley gone, Tyler's demeanor shifted again. He stepped even closer to Jessica, invading her personal space in a way that made the threat of physical violence implicit in every movement. "Read the script, Jessica, now." "No." The word was barely audible, but it carried more courage than Maya had expected from the terrified freshman. Tyler's jaw tightened, and Maya saw him glance toward Marcus as if confirming that the camera was still recording. "What did you just say to me?" "I said no." Jessica's voice was stronger this time, though tears continued to stream down her face. "I won't lie about myself on camera just because you want me to." Maya watched Tyler's expression transform from calculated control to genuine anger. She realized that Jessica's defiance was threatening something fundamental to his operation, the assumption that his victims would always choose humiliation over resistance. "You little bitch," Tyler said, his calm facade finally cracking. "You have no idea what you just did to yourself." He reached out and grabbed Jessica's wrist, yanking her closer to him with enough force to make her stumble. Maya saw Jessica's eyes widen with terror as Tyler's grip tightened. "You're going to read that script," Tyler continued, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "And then you're going to thank me for giving you the chance to apologize instead of just destroying you outright." Maya's body moved before her conscious mind made the decision. Years of training had taught her to recognize the moment when talking stopped and action became necessary. Tyler Morrison had just crossed the line from psychological abuse to physical assault, and Maya Chen was done being a silent observer. She stepped out from behind the oak tree and into the clearing with the fluid grace of someone completely comfortable with violence. Her movement was silent enough that neither Tyler nor Marcus noticed her until she spoke. "Let her go." Tyler spun around, his hand still gripping Jessica's wrist. His face showed genuine surprise for the first time since Maya had known him, as if the idea that someone might interrupt his private business was completely foreign to his experience. "Maya?" Tyler's voice carried confusion mixed with annoyance. "What are you doing here?" "I said let her go." Maya's tone was calm and level, the same voice she used during sparring sessions when she was completely focused and ready for anything. Marcus lowered his camera slightly, uncertain whether this interruption was something he should be filming. Tyler looked between Maya and Jessica, his grip on the freshman's wrist loosening but not releasing. "This doesn't concern you," Tyler said, his charm attempting to reassert itself. "Jessica and I are just having a conversation about some rumors she's been spreading. Nothing that involves you." Maya took a step closer, and Tyler's expression shifted as he registered something different in her posture and movement. She was no longer the quiet new student who needed his guidance to navigate Riverside High's social landscape. She was something else entirely, something that made his predatory instincts recognize a potential threat. "Forcing someone to humiliate themselves on camera isn't a conversation," Maya said. "It's assault. And you're going to stop now." Tyler finally released Jessica's wrist, but instead of backing down, He moved toward Maya with the aggressive confidence of someone who'd never faced real consequences for his actions. "You need to mind your own business, new girl. You have no idea what you're walking into here." "I know exactly what I'm walking into." Maya's stance shifted almost imperceptibly, her weight settling into the balanced position her father had drilled into her thousands of times. "I know you've been blackmailing students with embarrassing videos. I know you collect humiliation like other people collect stamps. And I know you're about to find out what happens when you pick on someone who can fight back." The words hung in the air between them, and Maya saw Tyler's face process the implications of what she'd just said. For the first time in their acquaintance, he was facing someone who knew his secrets and wasn't afraid of his retaliation. "Marcus, are you getting this?" Tyler asked without taking his eyes off Maya. "Yeah, man. Should I keep rolling?" "Definitely keep rolling. This is going to be good content." Maya realized that Tyler was already planning to use this confrontation against her somehow, probably editing the footage to make her look like the aggressor, while portraying himself as the victim. The knowledge that her words and actions were being recorded for later manipulation should have made her more cautious. Instead, it made her angry. "Jessica, get out of here," Maya said without looking away from Tyler. Jessica didn't need to be told twice. She grabbed her backpack and ran toward the trail entrance, leaving Maya alone with Tyler and Marcus in the small clearing. The afternoon shadows were growing longer, and Maya could hear the distant sound of after-school activities from the main campus. "That was a mistake," Tyler said, pulling out his phone. "Do you have any idea who you just screwed with? Someone who's about to learn an important lesson about picking fights with people who actually know how to fight." Tyler laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "Fight? You think this is about fighting?" "Maya, sweetheart, I don't need to touch you to destroy your life." He held up his phone, and Maya saw that he was already scrolling through what appeared to be a collection of photos and videos. "I've been researching you since your first day here. Did you really think you could hide your little anger management problem from Portland?" Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cooling autumn air. "What are you talking about?" "Lincoln High School, spring semester last year. Maya Chen, suspended for fighting in the cafeteria, hospitalized another student with what the incident report called excessive force." Tyler's smile was triumphant. "Anger issues, violent tendencies, probably on medication for emotional problems. Sound familiar?" The information hit Maya like a physical blow, not because it was true, but because she could see how Tyler would use it to destroy her reputation at Riverside High. The actual incident had been Maya defending a younger student from a group of bullies, but Tyler would edit that context out of existence, just like he'd done with all his other victims. "That's not what happened," Maya said, but even as she spoke, she knew the truth wouldn't matter once Tyler's version of events went viral. Doesn't matter what actually happened. What matters is what people will believe when they see the evidence. Tyler held up his phone again. Police report, hospital records, school disciplinary files. Amazing what you can find when you know where to look and have the right connections. Maya realized she was trapped in the same web that had caught Jessica, Danny, Emma, and all of Tyler's other victims. He'd researched her background, found information that could be taken out of context, and now he was prepared to use it to ensure her silence and compliance. "Here's what's going to happen," Tyler continued, his confidence returning as he sensed victory. "You're going to apologize to Marcus's camera for interrupting our conversation with Jessica. You're going to admit that you have anger problems and that you misunderstood what was happening here. And then you're going to stay out of my business for the rest of your time at Riverside High. And if I don't—" Tyler's smile widened. "Then tomorrow morning, everyone at this school will wake up to a very detailed social media post about the violent new student with a history of hospitalizing classmates. By lunchtime, you'll be eating alone. By the end of the week, your mother will be getting calls from concerned parents demanding that you be expelled for everyone's safety." Maya felt the familiar sensation of time slowing down that always preceded her most important matches. She could see Tyler's confident expression, Marcus's camera pointed in her direction, and the lengthening shadows that suggested they were running out of daylight. She thought about her promise to her mother about staying out of trouble. She thought about her father's teachings about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Most importantly, she thought about Jessica Martinez running through the woods with tears on her face and terror in her eyes. "Tyler," Maya said quietly. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." "What's that supposed to mean?" Maya's stance shifted again, this time into the ready position that had carried her to 3 state championships. Her hands came up in the classical Muay Thai guard, and her weight settled onto the balls of her feet with the balanced grace of someone prepared for explosive movement. "It means you chose the wrong person to threaten." Tyler's expression changed as he finally understood that Maya wasn't going to back down or submit to his blackmail. For the first time in their acquaintance, he was facing someone who preferred honest conflict to manipulated surrender. His face showed genuine surprise mixed with growing anger. "You can't be serious. You really think you're going to fight me? Here? On camera? I think you're going to give me Jessica's phone back. Delete any video you took of her, and promise never to bother her again." Tyler laughed, but the sound was forced and nervous. "Or what? You'll beat me up?" "Maya, think about what you're saying. This is being recorded. If you touch me, it's assault, and I'll have you arrested." "Then don't make me touch you. Just do the right thing for once in your pathetic life." The insult hit Tyler like a slap, and Maya saw his carefully maintained control finally snap completely. His face flushed red with genuine rage, and his hands clenched into fists that showed he was considering physical retaliation despite his threats about recording everything. "You arrogant little bitch," Tyler snarled. "You have no idea who you're dealing with. My father owns this town. My family has connections you can't even imagine. I will bury you so deep that..." Tyler's threat was interrupted by the sound of footsteps crashing through the underbrush. Ashley Brooks burst into the clearing, her face flushed from running and her eyes wide with panic. "Tyler, we need to go. Now." Ashley's voice carried urgent fear. "Coach Martinez is looking for you. She knows you're back here, and she's bringing Principal Walsh." Tyler's head snapped toward Ashley, his attention momentarily diverted from Maya. "What? How do they know?" Jessica went straight to the office. She told them everything. Ashley grabbed Tyler's arm, trying to pull him toward the trail entrance. "Tyler, if they catch you back here with that camera equipment, you're done." Maya saw Tyler's face cycle through emotions as he processed this new information. His empire of secrets and blackmail was suddenly vulnerable to official scrutiny, and the arrival of school authorities would shift the entire dynamic of the situation. "Marcus, pack up the camera, now." Tyler's voice carried the sharp edge of panic poorly disguised as authority. Marcus began dismantling his equipment with practiced speed, but Maya could see that the process would take at least a few minutes. The approaching voices of Coach Martinez and Principal Walsh were getting closer, and Tyler was running out of time to maintain control of the situation. "This isn't over," Tyler said, pointing at Maya with shaking finger. "You think you've won something here, but you have no idea what's coming for you." "Actually, I think it is over." Maya's voice remained calm, despite the adrenaline coursing through her system. "Because Jessica was brave enough to tell the truth, and because people are finally going to see you for what you really are." Tyler took a step toward Maya, his fists raised in a way that suggested he was finally ready to abandon psychological warfare in favor of direct violence. Maya shifted her weight forward, prepared to meet his attack with techniques that would end the confrontation in seconds. But before Tyler could close the distance between them, Coach Martinez's voice echoed through the trees with unmistakable authority. "Tyler Morrison, I know you're back there. Come out now, and bring whatever equipment you've got with you." Tyler froze, his face showing the trapped expression of someone whose carefully constructed world was collapsing around him. He looked at Maya with pure hatred, then at Marcus, who was still struggling with the camera equipment, then toward the trail entrance where Coach Martinez's voice was getting closer. "This is your fault," Tyler hissed at Maya. "All of it. And I'm going to make sure you pay for every second of what happens next." "Tyler, we have to go," Ashley pleaded, her voice cracking with stress. "If they catch us here, everything comes out." Tyler seemed to realize that his immediate priority had to be avoiding capture, rather than continuing his confrontation with Maya. He grabbed Marcus's arm, forcing him to abandon the camera setup, and the three of them crashed through the underbrush toward what Maya assumed was an alternate exit from the clearing. Maya remained in her fighting stance until the sound of their retreat faded into the distance. Only then did she allow herself to relax slightly, though her mind was already processing the implications of what had just happened. Tyler's threat about making her pay wasn't idle bluster. He still had the compromising information about her incident in Portland, and now he had additional motivation to use it against her. Coach Martinez appeared at the edge of the clearing moments later, her athletic build and no-nonsense expression making her look like someone who'd seen enough teenage drama to handle whatever she might find. Principal Walsh followed close behind, her business suit and clipboard suggesting she was prepared to document whatever rule violations had occurred. Maya Chen? Coach Martinez's voice showed surprise at finding her in the clearing. "What are you doing back here?" Maya realized she was standing alone in a secluded area where Tyler Morrison had just been conducting illegal activity. Without context, her presence might look suspicious or even complicit. She chose her words carefully, knowing that her response could determine how the investigation proceeded. "I followed Tyler and his friends back here because I was worried about Jessica Martinez. I saw them force her to come with them, and she looked scared." Principal Walsh stepped forward, her expression shifting from administrative annoyance to genuine concern. Jessica reported an incident involving Tyler Morrison. She said he was trying to force her to make some kind of video confession. "That's exactly what was happening," Maya confirmed. Tyler had a script he wanted Jessica to read on camera. When she refused, he grabbed her wrist and threatened her. Coach Martinez surveyed the clearing, noting the trampled grass and scattered equipment that Marcus had abandoned in his haste to escape. "Where are they now?" "They ran when they heard you coming. Tyler seemed to know you were looking for him." Principal Walsh made notes on her clipboard while Coach Martinez continued examining the scene. Maya could see both women processing the implications of what Jessica had reported and what Maya had just confirmed. "Maya, I need you to come with us to the office," Principal Walsh said. "We'll need a detailed statement about what you witnessed." "Of course." Maya felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. She was glad that Tyler's activities were finally receiving official attention, but she knew that her involvement in the situation would make her a target for his retaliation. As they walked back toward the main campus, Coach Martinez fell into step beside Maya. "Jessica mentioned that you intervened when Tyler became physical with her. That was brave, but also dangerous. Tyler Morrison isn't someone you want as an enemy." Maya thought about her father's teachings regarding courage and responsibility. Someone had to help her. She was just a freshman, and she was terrified. "I understand the impulse," Coach Martinez said, "but Tyler has resources and connections that most students don't. If you're going to stand up to him, you need to be prepared for the consequences." They reached the main building as the last of the after-school activities were ending. Students moved through the hallways with the casual energy of people looking forward to their evening plans, unaware that their school's social hierarchy was about to be turned upside down. Principal Walsh's office smelled like coffee and administrative stress, with stacks of paperwork covering every available surface. Maya settled into the chair across from the principal's desk, while Coach Martinez closed the door to ensure privacy. "Maya, I want you to tell us exactly what you saw today, starting from the beginning," Principal Walsh said, her pen poised over a legal pad. Maya recounted the events in the clearing, describing Tyler's behavior, the script he'd prepared for Jessica, and his threats when Jessica refused to comply. She included details about the professional camera equipment and Tyler's obvious experience with this type of activity. "Jessica mentioned that Tyler has done this to other students," Principal Walsh said when Maya finished. "Do you have any knowledge of similar incidents?" Maya hesitated, thinking about Emma Rodriguez and the other students she suspected were trapped in Tyler's blackmail network. She wanted to protect them, but she also knew that exposing Tyler's full operation would require their testimony. "I believe Jessica is right. Tyler has a pattern of collecting embarrassing information about students and using it to control them. But I think his victims are too scared to come forward because he threatens to release their compromising material if they speak up." Coach Martinez leaned forward in her chair. "Maya, Tyler Morrison is the son of one of this district's most influential families. Robert Morrison donates significant money to our programs, and Tyler himself has an exemplary academic and extracurricular record. These are serious accusations." "I understand that. But what I saw today wasn't the behavior of someone with exemplary character. Tyler was systematically humiliating a 14-year-old girl for his own entertainment." Principal Walsh set down her pen and looked directly at Maya. "If what you and Jessica are telling us is true, then Tyler Morrison has been engaging in criminal behavior on school property. But proving that will require more evidence than witness testimony from 2 students. Maya realized that the adults were preparing her for the possibility that Tyler might escape consequences due to his family's influence and his ability to manipulate evidence. The thought of him continuing to victimize students like Jessica and Emma made her feel sick. "What happens now?" Maya asked. "We investigate," Principal Walsh said firmly. "We interview other students, we examine any physical evidence we can find, and we determine the scope of Tyler's activities. But Maya, I need you to understand that this process will make you a target. Tyler Morrison doesn't forgive people who threaten his interests." Coach Martinez nodded in agreement. "There's something else you should know. Tyler's been asking questions about your background. Specifically, about any incidents you might have been involved in at your previous school." Maya felt her stomach drop as she realized Tyler had already begun his retaliation campaign. "What kind of questions?" "The kind that suggest he's looking for ammunition to use against you," Coach Martinez replied. "Maya, if there's anything in your past that Tyler might try to use to discredit you, we need to know about it now." Maya thought about the incident at Lincoln High School, about the way Tyler had already twisted the facts to create a narrative that painted her as violently unstable. She realized that her choices had narrowed to either remaining silent about Tyler's crimes or accepting that her own reputation would become collateral damage in the fight to stop him. "There was an incident at my previous school," Maya said quietly. "I was involved in a fight that resulted in another student being hospitalized." Principal Walsh and Coach Martinez exchanged glances that suggested this information changed their assessment of the situation. "What were the circumstances?" Principal Walsh asked. Maya explained the actual events at Lincoln High, describing how she'd intervened to protect a younger student from a group of bullies, and how the confrontation had escalated beyond her ability to control it without using more force than she'd intended. "The other student required surgery for internal injuries," Maya continued. "I was suspended for the remainder of the semester, and my family decided to move here for a fresh start." Coach Martinez leaned back in her chair, processing this new information. "Maya, Tyler Morrison now has access to official records that he can use to paint you as a violent student with a history of excessive force. If this becomes a he-said-she-said situation, those records will seriously undermine your credibility. I understand that. But I can't let Tyler continue to hurt people just because he has dirt on me." Principal Walsh made more notes on her legal pad before looking up at Maya with an expression of grudging respect. "Maya, what you did today was right. Jessica Martinez needed someone to stand up for her, and you were brave enough to do it. But you need to understand that Tyler Morrison will use every resource at his disposal to destroy your reputation and make your life at this school miserable. Then I guess I'll have to be ready for whatever he brings." Coach Martinez studied Maya's face, looking for signs of bravado or false confidence. Instead, she saw the calm determination of someone who'd made a difficult decision and was prepared to live with the consequences. "Maya, there's something else you should know," Coach Martinez said. "Tyler Morrison isn't just a bully. He's a bully with sophisticated resources and adult enablers who have protected him for years. Fighting him isn't just about standing up to one student. It's about challenging a system that has allowed him to operate without consequences." Maya thought about her father's teachings regarding systems and the courage required to change them. She thought about Jessica Martinez's tears and Emma Rodriguez's trapped situation. Most importantly, she thought about the choice between personal safety and moral responsibility. Then maybe it's time someone challenged that system. Principal Walsh closed her notebook and stood up, signaling that the interview was ending. "Maya, we'll be in touch as the investigation develops. In the meantime, I want you to be very careful. Tyler Morrison is going to retaliate, and when he does, it's going to be swift and brutal." Walking out of the administrative offices, Maya felt the weight of what she'd committed herself to. She'd chosen to fight Tyler Morrison knowing that he had weapons that could destroy her reputation and future at Riverside High. But she'd also chosen to stand with Jessica Martinez and all the other students who'd suffered in silence rather than risk Tyler's retaliation. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father asking about her day. Maya stared at the message for a long moment, knowing that she would have to explain to her parents why their fresh start in Cedar Falls was about to become complicated. She thought about her mother's hopes for a normal teenage experience and her father's teachings about the responsibility that came with strength. Maya typed back a simple response. "Challenging day. but I think I did the right thing. We should talk tonight." As she walked toward the parking lot where her mother would pick her up, Maya's phone buzzed again. This time the message was from an unknown number, but the content made it clear who had sent it. "Enjoy your last few days of normal life at Riverside High. Tomorrow, everyone learns who you really are." Maya read the message twice, then deleted it and put her phone away. She thought about her father's teachings regarding fear and courage, about the difference between avoiding fights and running from them. Tomorrow would bring Tyler Morrison's full retaliation, and Maya knew it would test everything she'd learned about standing up for what was right. But tonight, Jessica Martinez would sleep without the fear of being humiliated on camera. Emma Rodriguez might find the courage to come forward with her own story, and other students trapped in Tyler's web might begin to believe that escape was possible. Maya Chen walked toward her mother's car, carrying the knowledge that she'd chosen the harder path, the one that required her to risk everything to protect people she barely knew. It was exactly the choice her father would have made, and exactly the choice her mother had hoped she'd never have to face. The war with Tyler Morrison was about to begin, and Maya was as ready as anyone could be for a fight that would determine not just her own future, but the safety of every student at Riverside High School who'd ever been trapped by someone else's cruelty. The next morning would bring consequences that Maya couldn't fully anticipate, but also opportunities to prove that sometimes the right choice was worth any price you had to pay for making it. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.